The first time she said it, her voice didn't tremble. My body, my rules. For simple words. Calm. Clear. Final. And in that moment, I thought I had lost her forever. It was late evening when everything changed. The sky was painted in soft orange, fading slowly into gray. We were standing near the old bus stop where we used to meet almost every day after work. The same place where laughter once lived between us. Where silence never felt heavy. But that evening, silence had weight. Her hands were folded, her shoulders straight, and her eyes, those eyes that once looked at me with warmth, were now steady, guarded. I need space, she said softly. I nodded, even though every part of me wanted to say no. I wasn't angry. I wasn't confused. I was afraid. Afraid of losing the person who had quietly become my entire world. Her name was Ariba, and she wasn't just someone I loved. She was someone I respected. We had met 2 years earlier in the most ordinary way. She had joined our office on a Monday morning. No dramatic entrance. No special moment. Just a quiet girl with determined eyes and a polite smile. But there was something different about her. She didn't try to impress anyone. She didn't try to be noticed. Yet somehow, everyone noticed her. At first, we barely spoke. Just small greetings. Passing conversations. Professional distance. Until one rainy afternoon. The power had gone out, and the entire office sat in darkness. People complained, checked their phones, or waited impatiently. But she walked toward the window and stood there, watching the rain. Not bored, not restless, peaceful. I don't know why, but I walked over. Do you like rain? I asked. She smiled without looking at me. It reminds me that not everything needs permission to fall. That was the first real conversation we had. And after that, something slowly began. Not loudly, not suddenly, just quietly, like sunrise. We started sharing small things. Tea breaks, jokes, stories from our childhood, dreams we had never told anyone else. She told me she believed in independence, in strength, in never losing yourself for someone else. And I admired that, more than she ever knew. I never forced anything, never rushed her, because loving her never felt like something to chase. It felt like something to protect. Months passed, and we grew closer. She trusted me. She laughed with me. And in her presence, I felt like the best version of myself. Until the day everything shifted. It was subtle at first. She became quieter, distracted, distant. I noticed it, but I didn't push. I believed she would speak when she was ready. But one evening, I made a mistake. A small one. Yet it changed everything. We were walking home together when I casually said, "You should consider choosing something safer. Something more stable." She stopped walking, turned toward me, and asked why. I didn't realize it then, but my words had crossed a line. Not because they were harsh, but because they questioned her choices, her independence, her control over her own life. "I just want what's best for you," I said. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she spoke those words. My body, my rules. Her voice wasn't angry. It was firm, certain. And in that moment, I understood something I should have understood long ago. Love does not mean ownership. Love does not mean control. Love means respect. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply nodded and let her go. The days that followed were the longest of my life. She stopped coming to tea breaks, stopped waiting for me after work, stopped smiling at me. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't cold. She was simply gone. Even when she stood just a few feet away, I blamed myself, not because I had bad intentions, but because I had forgotten that her life belonged to her, not to me. Love should never feel like a cage. Weeks passed. I learned to live with the silence, to accept the distance, to carry the weight of missing someone who was still there. And then one morning, everything changed again. I arrived at the office early like always, but she was already there, standing near my desk, waiting. My heart froze. She looked nervous, for the first time in weeks. "Can we talk?" she asked. I nodded. We walked outside, to the same old bench where everything had once felt simple. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she took a deep breath. "I wasn't angry at you," she said. "I was afraid." I listened, carefully. I've spent my whole life fighting to be heard, fighting to make my own choices, fighting to be strong. Her voice softened. "And when you question my decision It reminded me of all the times people tried to decide my life for me. My chest tightened. I never wanted to control you, I said quietly. I know, she replied. And that's why I came back. I looked at her, confused, hopeful, terrified. She smiled, a small, fragile smile. The space you gave me, it mattered. She looked down at her hands. You didn't chase me. You didn't pressure me. You respected my silence. Her eyes met mine again. And that told me everything. My heart began to beat faster. Not from fear. From hope. I realized something, she continued. Love isn't about someone deciding for you. She paused. It's about someone standing beside you while you decide for yourself. I couldn't speak. I didn't trust my voice. She reached into her bag and pulled out something small. A folded piece of paper. She handed it to me. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was a simple drawing. 2 figures standing side by side. Not holding each other. Not pulling each other. Just standing. Together. At the bottom, she had written, I don't need someone to lead me. I need someone to walk with me. I looked up at her. She wasn't crying. She wasn't dramatic. She was calm, certain, strong. I'm not giving up my independence, she said. And I never will. I nodded. I don't want you to, I replied. She stepped closer. Not close enough to erase the distance completely, but close enough to show she trusted me again. But I don't want to lose you either, she said. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. She hadn't come back because she needed me. She had come back because she chose me. There's a difference. A big one. Need can create dependence. But choice creates love. From that day forward, everything was different. Not like before. Better than before. We didn't try to own each other. We didn't try to change each other. We supported each other. Respected each other. Walked beside each other. Some days were still quiet. Some days were still uncertain. But love isn't about removing uncertainty. It's about staying, even when certainty doesn't exist. Months later, we returned to the same bus stop where she had once said those words. My body, my rules. This time, the silence wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. She looked at me and smiled. Not because she belonged to me, but because she didn't. And I loved her anyway. Not as someone to possess. Not as someone to control. But as someone to stand beside. Equal. Free. And choosing me. Every single day. And that was more powerful than anything else. Because the day she said, my body, my rules, I thought it was the end. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of a love built not on ownership, but on respect.